Hello, Jonsea. In this short screencast, I'm going to give you feedback to your summary from last week. So let's begin. In this video, okay, good idea to include the title. Yeah, you don't need this or this information. Just the title is enough. Okay, no need for this. Dashaw Hockett, good, name of the speaker, argues that, very good use of reporting verb, argues that, just one that is enough, that it is crucial to be familiar with our own implicit biases, as it might assist us to judge and control all lives. Okay, you really made a good attempt to paraphrase the main idea in your own words. So this first sentence has everything. Very good idea. I would just say here, as it might assist us to judge and control our own lives is a little bit too general. So try to, but I like the idea that you actually tried to provide a reason why it's crucial. So that's a good idea. I just say make it a little bit more specific, okay? More relevant to the topic, because to judge and control our lives is a little bit too, it's just too general. First, not at first, and usually we use the present tense, remember? With reporting verbs, we usually use the present tense. First, he mentions, right, that everyone has biases, has bias, which is attitude. Oh, okay. Yeah, biases in the plural would work. In this, just bias on its own, it either needs an article or it should be in plural. I think the plural is better because he's talking about biases in general, in plural, which are attitudes, preferences, and prejudice towards something. Okay, sure. I would include people or objects because towards something is a little bit informal here, just kind of vague. Towards people or objects or something like that. A bit vague, I would say. Vague and a bit informal. Towards something is just, what is it? Right? However, we might not control it as we're not aware of having it, which denotes it to be, I'm not sure. Denotation is a very specific thing, so denote is a different, has a different meaning than what you're intending here. So I would say try and find a synonym for denote, which means maybe, denote is a very specific. Denotation is the meaning of a word as you find it in the dictionary, as opposed to connotation, for instance. It's usually distinguished between denotation and connotation. Connotation is these associations we have. Denotation is just the dictionary meaning of a word without the mental associations accompanying it. So just use a synonym or something which means that, right? Rephrase. Okay. However, we might not control it. I don't know why using the modal verb. We might not control it. Plural would be better again. We might not be able to control our biases as we are not aware of having them, which means that they work at the subconscious level. Okay, something like that. I do applaud your effort here to paraphrase in your own words. You did make an effort, and that's important because you do want to avoid plagiarism. So good work. Just maybe use the plural. We may not always be able to control. Might not control just doesn't sound very good in this context. We may not be able to control our biases as we're not aware of them, comma, but again, which means you don't need that kind of wordiness. You can just say, since they operate at the subconscious level. There we go. As we're not aware of them, since they, something like that, because they operate at the subconscious level. So a little bit of rephrasing here, but overall, good effort, right? We may not be able to control, just to rephrase a little bit here and there, but the point is clear. Additionally, the speaker states, okay, again, good use of linking words, reporting verbs, referring to the speaker. Oh, this is good practice. Good practices. The speaker states that it seems to be contrary. Who is it again? Just say biases. You don't have to keep repeating it. You know, it's okay in an academic text like this to repeat the key term. Implicit biases are, no problem with that. So first of all, plural is better, plus you can use repetition. Especially key terminology, it's fine in an academic text like this. Additionally, the speaker states that biases seem to be contrary to our stated beliefs. Okay, that much is clear, but I'm not sure about that can be triggered randomly. He probably says something like that, but here it's just not, it's not very clear what that means, right? I think it's just enough to say that they're contrary to our stated beliefs. And then if you want to add something to that, you can say, and often that results in hurtful behavior towards others, because that's what he was saying, right? Or actually you are saying that harmful biases. So if you want to add something, you're welcome to do that, but that can be triggered randomly. I'm not sure that that's very clear. To somebody who hasn't seen the video, how that works is not going to be very clear. It seems to be contrary to our stated beliefs. Fine, and then that can be triggered randomly. It's just not very clear what this all means. So biases seem to be contrary to our stated beliefs. You can add something, but again, not add something that's more clear, that makes more sense, that adds up. Because how these two, how the fact that they're contrary to our beliefs and the fact that they are triggered randomly, those two just don't seem to connect. You see what I mean? So I want to say, rephrase this. It just doesn't add up. The fact that they're contrary to our beliefs and the fact that they're triggered randomly, right? So you want to be as clear as possible. I know you're attempting to try and summarize the video, but you cannot mention everything, right? So the summary should work on its own as a paragraph. Everything should be coherent. And here the coherence is disrupted a little bit, because these two ideas just do not seem to add up to each other. They don't link so well. Do you see what I mean? He demonstrates that the reason people had better be familiar with it. Okay, that's a little informal. Again, you're trying to paraphrase your own words, which is good, but the result here is a little too informal. Had better be familiar with it, again, just use the plural, is related to diagnosis. Is related to diagnosis, which contributes to prevention of harmful biases, as well as reducing the shame inside of ours that further flourishes the public. Okay, this is just a little bit out of control, this sentence. So what I would say here, just be very, very clear. be clear to somebody who has not seen the video, who is only going to read the summary, and they need to get the right impression. So here I would just say separate into at least 2 sentences and make it very, very clear. In a sense, what you can do, you can just try and forget about the video, the phrasing that he uses. Just forget about diagnosis. I know he used that phrase. Just think about, okay, what are these recommendations that Hockett offers? You can say, additionally, having discussed these characteristics, Hockett goes on to offer 3 recommendations. First, we need to diagnose the problem. We need to become aware of our own biases. Second, we need to openly discuss our biases. That's what he means by reducing shame, right? We need to learn how to honestly and openly discuss our biases without guilt or shame. And third, but actually that was the third recommendation. So do you see what I'm saying? Very, very clear. It has to make sense. The summary has to make sense on its own, instead of simply picking out words, key phrases and words from the video, which are not going to make much sense to somebody who hasn't seen it, right? Okay. Consequently, it leads to no growth and any improvement in any individual's lives. Yeah, this is, I'm not sure that you need that. Just stick with the 3 recommendations very simply, very clearly. 1, 2, 3. First, he recommends that we need to become aware of our own biases, diagnose the problem. Second, we need to do that. Third, we need to do that. The third one was openly discuss it. I forgot what the second one was, but you know what I'm saying, right? Just be very clear. And this consequently leads to no, that doesn't add much to, does not really add very much to the summary. So just focus 3 characteristics, 3 recommendations, and that's it. That's really what the video was about. Okay. Thus, everyone should be aware of implicit bias to prevent any negative outcomes. Okay. You want to use something like finally, in conclusion. These are good cohesive devices. Everyone should be aware of implicit biases. That's fine. I would say to prevent any negative outcomes is a little bit vague, right? I think the final thought that he left us with was we need to start working on the inside. If we get very serious about addressing the issue of our own biases, start working on the inside, then we can produce positive change in society or something like that, right? But overall, Jean-Sébastien, this is a well-structured summary. You are doing what you need to be doing, which is you have a good first sentence, you've mentioned the supporting ideas, they're all there, a little bit vaguely stated, but they're there. And then you have a conclusion, which I would say you need to make that a little bit more clear. But overall, decent work. I hope this is helpful now to you.